Hello. Yes, good afternoon. Just hit afternoon here, so it's 12 o'clock here. Okay. So we'll get started with the basics here. There's a couple people that are kind of going in and out, so I think there's might be some technical difficulties on their side. So they'll join us if they can. Welcome to May 20th and our next session on the sleep series. Okay. So as I do every time, before we get started, let's go over the basics here. So the presentation you're about to view is the intellectual property of the Department of National Defense. Any reproduction or retransmission of the slides contained in this presentation is strictly forbidden. Some of the topics discussed in this webinar may be of a sensitive nature and not appropriate for children, so we do ask for parental discretion. So today we're going to be talking about alcohol and sleep, so just kind of keep that in mind if you do have a child near you. Please understand that people's stories are theirs alone to tell, and anything that is shared by participants in this webinar, either on camera or in the chat, is not to be discussed outside of the webinar. This webinar is being recorded and will be available for viewing later on cafconnection.ca. Though active participation is encouraged, you may simply follow along without using the chat or the video microphone functions if you prefer. So if you are new to the series, I'm just going to let you know I don't turn on participants' mics or cams until the very end, and only then when requested if they want to ask a question verbally versus typing it out. So if that's the case for you at the end, just let me know and I can do that for you. We do have a smaller group today, so it would be very manageable to do the mics if need be. One other thing is I know that our platform was having some slight issues earlier today. So if it happens that we are disconnected and kicked out, don't stress about it. It will just redo the session at a later time, and you'll get an email setting that up. So I just want to give you that, that information just in case we do get disconnected, but hopefully we don't and it works well. Okay, so as I mentioned, we are doing the next section of the Sleep in You series. So today it's how booze can hinder your snooze. So talking about alcohol and sleep and the relationship between the two. If you haven't been here before, my name is Lisa Fisher. I'm the health promotion specialist here at Four Wing Cold Lake. So we're going to do a couple polls before we get started. If you've been on a session before, you know about exactly what I'm about to ask. So the first question is, what is your affiliation with the CAF community? So serving member, veteran, family member, civilian employee, or other. Okay, perfect. So the answers keep getting a little higher just because we have some people that are joining still. So right now, based on the answers that we do have, we have 2 serving members, a veteran, and 3 civilian employees. I do understand that we may also have some veterans that are also civilian employees, so just keep that in mind as well. Perfect. Okay, and in the chat box, can you let me know where you're joining us from? Trenton, Halifax, Borden, Ottawa, Colorado Springs. Welcome back, Joanne. Alberta, Moose Jaw. Oh, there's another Lisa. Huh. Perfect. Okay, awesome. All right, so let's move on to the actual content here. Before we get started, does anybody know much about alcohol and sleep? You can just type yes or no or stay silent and I'll move on. A little bit, okay. Sort of, no. Very little, okay. It can hinder deep sleep, okay. All right, so we are all here together to learn some more. That's fantastic. So we're going to first start with an alcohol debrief so that we can understand what alcohol is. I'm sure most of us know that, but I think that's a good way to start when we're talking about how it impacts our sleep. So alcohol is the most used substance in Canada, and it is a legal substance known for its psychoactive properties. So essentially it's produced by fermenting or distilling produce or grains. So those fermented beverages will include your beer, cider, wine, and flavored purified alcohol. So those alcohol by volume ranges are between 0.5% to up to 20%. And then your distilled beverages are often called your spirits, and those alcohol by volume is usually 25% or higher. So actually, let me see. I want to make sure that it doesn't. There we go, yeah. Okay, so Canada's lowest drinking guidelines. So I want to know what you know about these. So what is a standard drink size for a beer? You can let me know, milliliters or ounces? 12 ounces. 12. Okay. All right, what about a cider or a cooler? Okay. 8, 12. Okay. A glass of wine? What would that look like? 5. Okay. 6. Okay. And distilled alcohol, so spirits, such as if you were drinking rye, gin, rum, vodka. 1, 1/2, 1. Okay. So all pretty much on the same page there, or close to. So yeah, when we're looking at Canada's lowest drinking guidelines, a beer is 341 milliliters or 12 ounces with 5% alcohol content. A cider or cooler is the exact same as the beer with 5% alcohol content, 12 ounces. A glass of wine is 5 ounces with about 12% alcohol content. And distilled alcohol, so any of your spirits would be 1.5 ounces at about 40% alcohol content. Just keep in mind that your alcohol content can vary on certain certain beverages. So just if you have a lower alcohol content, then it may be a little bit more of the actual beverage to make a standard drink, or if it's a higher alcohol content, it'd be lower amount of the beverage. So just keep that in mind if you are drinking alcohol. Okay. So let's keep going on with the Canada's lowest drinking guidelines. For a man, how many drinks per day could a man consume? Not could he consume, but under the lowest drinking guidelines. Would be the min to the max. 3 to 4, 2. Okay. So for a man, he can drink 0 to 3 alcoholic beverages per day, standard size, okay? So for a woman, if a man is 3, what do we think a woman would be? 0 to 2, 1, 2. Yeah, so we're at 0 to 2 for a woman. And what about per week? How many drinks can a man have per week? 15. Yes. 6 to 8. It's actually 15. So quite a bit higher. And what about a female, woman? 8, 10. 10. Yeah, it's up to 10. Keep in mind though that you can't save these up and have them all at once. That's max 15 or 10 for the entire week, not on your Saturday night. Your Saturday night would still be 3 or a max of 3 or max of 2. Okay. All right, let's move on to talking about alcohol and sleep. So when we're talking about falling asleep, research has shown that alcohol helps people fall asleep more quickly, regardless of the amount of alcohol that they have consumed. So with alcohol being a sedative, it does have that effect. So that's why you'll see people who have difficulty falling asleep, they may turn to alcohol, especially insomniacs, may turn to alcohol to kind of help them fall asleep because they can't fall asleep on their own. The sedative effect of alcohol does last through the first part of the night. And during the first few hours of sleep, people who have consumed alcohol have been found to wake up less frequently and for shorter periods of time, which is true regardless of sex and age or age. A tolerance of the sedative effect does tend to develop for regular drinkers. So research has shown that after 3 to 7 consecutive days of drinking, people no longer feel the sedative effects of alcohol. So you can see how that could be problematic for somebody who's using alcohol as a sleep aid. If someone were to consume a small amount of alcohol just before bedtime, falling asleep may actually be delayed because alcohol does act as a stimulant when it's first consumed rather than a sedative, because as the blood alcohol is rising, it's becoming a stimulant. So that's why if somebody is using alcohol to fall asleep, they shouldn't actually be drinking it right before, because it's going to keep them awake. So keep that in mind if you're choosing to use alcohol in the evening. I still don't recommend using it as a sleep aid by any means. So non-REM sleep, and if you have been here since the beginning, you'll know that I did go over the stages of sleep. So non-REM sleep, research has shown that alcohol does increase the amount of non-REM sleep during the first part of the night. So this is regardless of sex, age, or the amount of alcohol consumed. The greatest increase is found in those who have drunk a considerable amount. Polysomnograms have shown that people who drink 4 alcoholic drinks before going to bed have 1 to 11% more non-REM sleep than after consuming no alcohol. Among those who do drink small or moderate amounts, the increase varies from 0.5 to 7.5%. However, these effects disappear rapidly with tolerance. So yet again, if somebody is, drinking alcohol every evening for a few days, that increase in non-REM sleep is going to rapidly diminish. Consuming alcohol prior to bed has been shown to increase slow wave sleep patterns, which are called delta activity. So these waves occur during your N3 sleep, which is known as your deep sleep. So somebody did mention that it hindered deep sleep, so it actually increases your deep sleep. However, at the same time, alpha activity is turned on. So alpha activity are the alpha waves that occur during wakefulness and periods of relaxation, not during sleep normally. So what happens is the alpha waves and the delta waves battle together, which inhibits having a restorative sleep. So even though that deep sleep may be, more so than you would normally get, it's not going to be restorative. So that's concerning for sure, because of course sleep is supposed to be restorative, right? It's supposed to help us be able to function the next day and throughout life, right? So moving on to REM sleep. When alcohol is consumed, REM sleep is essentially replaced by non-REM sleep. So studies have shown that if a person drinks lightly or moderately, there's going to be no change in the amount of REM sleep during the first part of the night. However, if a person were to drink heavily, they would experience a significant reduction in REM sleep during the first part of the night. When you look at the full night, moderate and heavy drinking reduces the total percentage of REM sleep experienced, because essentially it blocks your ability to go into REM sleep. Because alcohol does promote sleepiness and disrupts your sleep cycle, it does prevent REM sleep from alternating normally with non-REM sleep. So your sleep stages are not going to, or your sleep cycle are not going to be normal, which can definitely lead to a disruption. We have to remember that REM sleep is considered the most restorative type of sleep. So if you do not have enough REM sleep, you're more likely to wake up feeling groggy and unfocused. So if you've ever drank in the evening, gone to bed, drank quite a bit in the evening, gone to bed and woken up, it's not just, a hangover because you have alcohol in your system. It's also because you're tired, because you have not been able to have restorative sleep. That also impacts people who, sleep less because they're going to bed later when they drink alcohol, and they're waking up earlier as well, because they're trying to do their regular day, but they went to bed quite a bit later because they were drinking. So just keep that in mind, that it does have quite an impact on the different stages of sleep. So alcohol and our circadian rhythm. So essentially, remember that circadian rhythms are 24-hour rhythms that are governed by our master biological clock. So they do regulate almost all of our body's processes, including our metabolism, our sleep, our sexual drive, cognitive functions, and the endocrine system, just to name a few of our systems that they regulate. So essentially, when we have alcohol, it increases the production of adenosine, which is a sleep-inducing chemical that's in your brain. So that's what helps you fall asleep quicker with alcohol consumption. However, the adenosine subsides quickly once you are asleep, which means you're more likely to wake up before you're fully rested. This overall is going to disrupt your circadian rhythm because it's going to throw it out of whack. So essentially, it's not, your circadian rhythms are going to not know exactly what your body's telling it to do. It's going to wake up before you're ready to wake up, which means then you're not going to get as much sleep as you need, and you're not going to feel good the next day or be able to function very well. Keep in mind as well, because circadian rhythms do influence the ways our bodies function, disruption in them caused by is caused by alcohol can affect not only your sleep but other symptoms as well. So an example of that would be you have more of a risk of poor liver function because your circadian rhythm is regulating your liver. However, when it's disrupted by alcohol, your liver function is also disrupted, which is important because alcohol is metabolized in the liver, right? So we need to realize that we're not just harming ourselves with sleep, we're harming our other processes as well when we're not getting that sleep. Okay, so how about alcohol and sleep disorders? So if you were on the session last week, I talked about sleep disorders. Yet again, alcohol and sleep disorders don't really mix. I did mention at the beginning of the session that insomniacs will use alcohol to fall asleep quicker. However, it's still not a great idea to do so. So let's take a look at that. So when you consume alcohol, it has been found to exacerbate certain sleep disorders, specifically insomnia and sleep apnea. So insomnia can be affected by alcohol because moderate to heavy drinking has been shown to increase occurrences of awakening, reducing the amount of REM sleep and changing the sleep stages. So when you have insomnia, you already have an issue with not being able to fall asleep, with waking up, potentially pretty frequently. And when you do wake up, you're not able to get to sleep quick, like people without insomnia would, as well as you're more likely to wake up earlier than you're ready to. So that's definitely an issue when you're drinking alcohol. It's going to exacerbate that. Sleep apnea, if you weren't on the session last time, I'm just going to give you a brief description. So remember, it's characterized by pauses in breathing during sleep, which occurs when the upper airway becomes blocked during sleep. So when you consume alcohol, it causes your throat muscles to relax abnormally, which can lead to a blocked airway. So alcohol also reduces the brain's ability to wake up and detect a lack of oxygen in the body, leading to longer apneas. So essentially, when you're having a sleep apnea with alcohol, your body sends an emergency signal to be like, oh, wake up so you can breathe again. When you have alcohol, that's delayed even longer. So when you're not getting enough oxygen, that can definitely be concerning, which is concerning overall with sleep apnea, but definitely concerning when you're having longer apneas due to alcohol consumption. Also, when your throat muscles are more relaxed, you're more apt to snore when you've been drinking. So snoring in itself isn't dangerous, but is associated with a higher risk of hypertension. Also could be potentially incredibly annoying to whoever's sleeping near you. So you may have realized that if you've been drinking, maybe somebody told you the next day, you're snoring pretty loud. You go, oh, I don't snore. That's not something I do. But maybe you do when you drink because of those throat muscles being so relaxed. Alcohol has also been found to increase the incidences of sleepwalking. So if you already are a sleepwalker, then your chances of sleepwalking are going to be increased when you drink alcohol. Or, if maybe you don't sleepwalk very often, maybe you did as a child, but there's potential that you could have that increased risk as well when you consume that alcohol. Okay. Okay. And alcohol at nighttime hormonal function. So hormonal secretions are really prominent during sleep. That's a really prime time for our brain and our bodies to release those hormones. So the pineal gland, which is located in the middle of the brain, secretes hormones in accordance with circadian rhythm. So remember, a couple slides back, I said that when you consume alcohol before sleeping, it disrupts your circadian rhythm. Okay, so that means that that hormones such as melatonin and the growth hormone could potentially be disrupted. So melatonin is the sleep hormone, essentially. It helps us sleep. And the growth hormone is incredibly important to our overall growth. So during non-REM sleep, the growth hormone reaches its peak secretion. However, when you consume alcohol, those secretions are going to be decreased. So definitely concerning if, you know, if you're going through any growth spurts specifically, but overall, it's still not a good thing to have that hormone be decreased. Okay, so tips for alcohol and sleep. So by no means am I telling you to become day drinkers. That's not the point of this whatsoever. People normally consume alcohol in the evening. That is our society's norm, which is fine, right? That's the way that we do things, and you don't want to be drinking during work hours or anything like that. If you're choosing to drink alcohol, moderation is definitely key, and not just for sleep, but for all, you know, all of our health risks concerning alcohol. So we do want to follow those Canada's low risk drinking guidelines. So making sure that you're not going above 3 per day or 2 a day, you know, 3 for a male, 2 for a female, or the 15 per week for a man or 10 per week for a woman. Okay. You also, if you are drinking alcohol, you want to definitely make sure that you're not swapping. You want to drink water as well. So non-alcoholic beverages between your alcoholic beverages so that you're not dehydrating yourself either. Keep in mind that alcohol is also going to make you need to use the bathroom more often. So even if it by some way is not affecting your circadian rhythm or not affecting your REM sleep, which it will, it would still make you wake up because you're still going to need to use the washer more than you would if you hadn't consumed alcohol before bed. Okay. Drink earlier in the evening rather than just before bed. So if you want to consume alcohol, and obviously don't want to consume during the day, then consuming in the evening is fine. But similar to, you know, any other stimulants or anything, you don't want to be consuming later on. So maybe if you're going to bed at you know, 10 or 11, make sure that you're not consuming alcohol past 7 p.m. right? Therefore, you have that time for your body to eliminate those drinks, and for you to sleep better than you would if you had consumed alcohol right up to, let's say, you know, 9:30 and you went to bed at 10. Yeah, so just plan your evening so that you know what time you want to go to bed to get those 7 to 9 hours of sleep, and you know when to cut off your alcohol so that it's not disrupting your sleep. Also, keep in mind that a standard drink is eliminated from your body at a fixed rate. So it takes about 2 hours for a standard drink to be eliminated from your body. So if you're drinking one, then, you know, give yourself 2 hours after that for it to be eliminated. If you're drinking two, then it's going to be double that, right? Okay. So that is it for that section. Just a little less than a half hour here. So Sleep and You series, we have 3 more sessions. So next week, we're going back to Monday and Wednesday because it's not a holiday week. So May 25th, we're going to be talking about nutrition, physical activity, and sleep. May 27th will be shift work and sleep. So anybody who is a shift worker or knows somebody who's a shift worker, maybe they have a bed partner or somebody in their house is a shift worker. And then June 1st will be all about sleep hygiene and all the tips and tricks of how to really work on your sleep hygiene if you're not sleeping well, or maybe you are sleeping okay, but you know there might be some things that you could add to your sleep routine. So that'll be on June 1st. Okay, so I'm going to ask a couple questions here, and then I'm going to open it up to questions. So if you have any questions about it, you can definitely feel free to put it in the chat or ask me for your mic, and I can put your mic on so you can ask it verbally. So the first poll here would be, I feel I can apply what I learned today in my daily living. So strongly disagree, disagree, neither agree nor disagree, agree, or strongly agree. Sorry about the dog. All right, and let's go to the next one here, which is how satisfied are you with the Demio platform? So that's the platform that we're using today. So extremely dissatisfied, somewhat dissatisfied, neither satisfied nor dissatisfied, somewhat satisfied, or extremely satisfied. Okay. Perfect. Thank you for that. And I will open it up to questions now. So if you have any questions, let me know. If you don't, you can just say, no, I don't. And then that way I know I'm not cutting anybody off when I say goodbye. Okay, so it looks like most people are good. So I will, normally I always have this up for you, but I didn't grab it. So give me just 1 second. I'll grab the next link for the next session. Okay. All right, so as I mentioned before, next session is nutrition, physical activity, and sleep. So here is the registration link for you. So you can just go right there and register for the next one. I think my dog is throwing a toy around, so I apologize for that. So yeah, so thank you for joining us today. We'll do another session next Monday, same time. Hopefully you'll be able to join us. If you think anybody else would be get something out of the next session, please feel free to send the invite to them as well. Thank you for joining and have a great rest of your Wednesday.